the way I look at a sexual assault at 17 years old, I don't think it should follow you your entire life. If you've already reflected upon it.
Yes.
And I think
that's the only if.
If he would have, I think Kavanaugh would have been good and fine if he reflected on it and be like, oh man, you know, I was 17. I was just dumb. I was in a position where, you know, I felt that women should do whatever for me because I was privileged. I was under the influence not of just alcohol, but friends hyping me up. 17. I don't know where I was in my mind. It was a one-time thing. I've gotten past that, and nothing like that has ever happened, and I'm sorry about that, blah, blah, blah. I think he would have been fine. You see what I'm saying? So that is the only case where something happens at that age and it shouldn't follow you. But to me, like, this cover-up campaign led by Chuck Grassley just, like, kind of magnifies it, like, to a point that it shouldn't have been. Like
you said, it's not just his old buddy Mark Judge that is trying to provide cover, and well, really just trying to stay out of it now. At first he was trying to provide cover, and now he's like, just keep my name out of it. Like you said, it's the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Charles E. Grassley, a Republican from Iowa.
I like how you just Charles, you just went ahead, you just, and his middle initial.
Exactly.
You ain't playing.
No. So Grassley, Senator Grassley, soon after this actually made the airwaves, soon after this was actually being discussed by prominent media heads, commentators all around, there was a letter that was provided. I believe this was maybe like 24 hours, like 24 hours later. Within 24 hours, there was a letter that was signed by 65 different women that knew Brett Kavanaugh from back in the day, back in high school, back in the 80s. Now, again, Brett Kavanaugh went to an all-boys school, right? And, Dr. Ford, she went to an all-girls school. Now, these were 65 women that I guess were around the neighborhood, around the area, that ran into, I guess had dealings with Brett Kavanaugh back in the day. They were friendly with him. And in the letter, they say, quote, through the more than 35 years we have known him, Brett has stood out for his friendship, character, and integrity. In particular, he has always treated women with decency and respect. That was true when he was in high school, and it has remained true to this day. So my feeling on this is, I have a couple feelings on it. I guess the prevailing feeling is, though, how did you come up with 65 women within 24 hours? Seems like you already knew that this was going to rear its ugly head, and you already had this in your drawer, in your desk drawer, and you pulled it out when you needed it. There's no way you got 65 people from 30 years ago to sign the letter within 24 hours.
I think that needs to be kind of laid out on the table. Like, seriously, like, so people can see how ridiculous that is. Like, how ridiculously unlikely that is. You have 65 women who knew Brett Kavanaugh 30 plus years ago, didn't even go to the same school. But you know what? I'm going to change up the story and make it easier. And make it even more plausible. Well, it's not really more plausible because it's still implausible. Let's say they went to the same high school.
All right. So this is people that actually went to the high school.
Let's change it up to make it easier for them.
So all you got to do is you look at the yearbook. But you got to find a yearbook. You got to find a yearbook.
So now, there's 65 women, 30 plus years ago, from not even in the same high school, just the same area.
Yes.
Many, if not most of these women are married. So guess what?
Oh, their last
name changed.
And I also believe that probably a lot of them have moved away.
So they're not even in the same area.
Not even in the same area anymore.
So he was able to get all that information, find these ladies and get them to sign a letter
Not just talk to them, but to get them to agree to sign the letter.
A letter
together
about how Brett Kavanaugh is a wonderful human being. 24 hours after the sexual assault allegations broke. 24 hours, dog.
You know people work, right? You know people work, right?
Oh, that's another factor too that I just wasn't even considering.
People work. In one day, you were able to get them outside of work, contact them, be like, yeah, this was going on. This was going on. Can I have, yeah, can you sign this letter? Blah, blah. Yeah, okay, good. You think life actually happens like that? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, it didn't happen like that whatsoever. They already knew about this allegation.
It's funny. It's like one of those situations where you like play a hand that can't be beat, right?
Yeah.
And you know the other person can't beat it, but they have to play their hand, and that's what they had to do. So like by releasing this 65 women say Kavanaugh is not a rapist letter, like in such a short time after the story broke, this kind of proves that Grassley's committee sat on these allegations and kind of pre-planned all this, planned to cover it up.
No doubt.
Like ahead of time.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? In advance.
In advance. They had to. There's no way that anybody can actually believe that all of this occurred within 24 hours. And you know what? Even if it did, are you telling me that because 65 women attest to the great character of Brett Kavanaugh, how he's an upstanding gentleman, and how they have never seen him disrespect them in any way, does that mean that for a moment in time that he didn't disrespect somebody else? Does that mean that in some point in time he didn't actually try to sexually assault somebody else? Like, we hear this kind of claim all the time, like, hey, these women over here. It happened with Roy Moore as well. The women on they were on the steps speaking up for Roy Moore. It doesn't matter. I'm sure there are women.
They were all old women too.
They were all old, no doubt. But with Brett Kavanaugh, I'm sure there are a lot of people, a lot of women that he didn't try to sexually assault. I'm sure there are a lot of women that he has been nice to and respectful to over the course of all of his years on this planet. That's very understandable. But that doesn't mean that there was not at least one woman that he was not respectful to. That does not mean that there was not one woman that he tried to sexually assault.
I'm gonna ask
their tales is inconsequential evidence or information, and it means nothing.
What's the rationale behind trotting out 65, 100? 5,000, 10,000, or even 100,000 women?
Yeah.
Like, I guess if that guy is being accused of rape, like, what's the rationale behind that? Like, how is that like a defense for why he's not a rapist? Trotting out 1 million women.
Yeah.
How is that a defense to show that he's not a rapist? Trotting out all those women that he didn't rape.
Because if he actually did anything to those whatever number of women, then certainly he would have been caught much earlier than it is right now.
But think about what that.
It doesn't mean anything for that one woman.
But think about what that suggests, though. Like, a guy can't possibly be a rapist unless he tries to rape every single woman that crosses his path.
Exactly.
Like,
that's what they're kind of suggesting. You have to go after every single woman that you come into contact with for us to believe this particular woman you did something to.
That's a standard. That's a standard. A standard that would not work in any other situation. Imagine if you were accused or suspected of like burglary or something, and your defense was like, I couldn't have possibly committed that one burglary. Like, I couldn't have possibly robbed that house because look at all these other houses that I did not rob.
Exactly.
That makes no sense. What would you think if I used that as a defense?
I thought you were gonna go with the whole grocery store thing. Look, I've been to this grocery store like for like 10 years. Never robbed it before.
So that means I couldn't have robbed it last night, right?
The actions of a 17-year-old. I don't think anybody is gonna say that should determine, you know, your life or what's expected from you 20, 30, 40 years later. I don't think anybody is under the impression that we should always penalize somebody for something that they did at 17. But like you said, that comes with them addressing the situation. They'd have to actually address the situation and admit that that wasn't their best course of action. Like, they actually hurt somebody, and that's not them now, you know, and they've lived a life that has been trying to make up for that mistake. But that's not what Brett Kavanaugh is doing. All Brett Kavanaugh is doing is saying that this isn't me, I have nothing to do with this, I deny all these allegations.
And the thing is, it's like, it's also the approach after the allegations that rubs me the wrong way as well. And Kavanaugh would have to agree with the approach that's being used by Charles E. Grassley.
Charles E. Grassley,
as you
that's
said.
correct. Mm-hmm.
Because whatever approach he is using as defense for Kavanaugh, you know Kavanaugh is like, good job, guy.
Yeah. Cover me.
So again, if we're looking at the approach, you kind of got to look at it with the side eye.
Right.